LSU annihilates, obliterates, embarrasses. Pick your adjective. Xavier, let's recap it. Locked on LSU. Let's go.
You are Locked On LSU, your daily podcast on the LSU Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Okay, let's get it. It is Locked on LSU, your team every day. I'm your host, Matt Moscona. Thanks so much for making us your first listen. We are free, available wherever you get podcasts, of course, on YouTube as well. So please subscribe. As always, one of the fastest ways to help us grow is by leaving your comments below. So thank you for that. LSU beats Xavier 18-4 in the final tune-up before conference play starts Friday at the box against Missouri. And my goodness, did the Tigers do work on Tuesday night against the Musketeers? One of the things that I am often fond of saying is that winning masks deficiencies. And when you have a game where you go put up 18 runs on 18 hits and you put up a 7 spot in the first, you're leading 17-0 through 3 after a Tanner Reeves grand slam. It would be very easy to overlook any possible shortcomings in this game because there weren't many. LSU was pretty awesome. But I think it's one of those instances, not to say let's focus on the negative, but to say on a day where it's so easy to focus on the positives, what are the things maybe we learned by LSU beating an inferior opponent the way that they did? So I want to dive into that. Hey, if you're new to this format, first of all, thank you so much for being here. If you're watching live on YouTube, just to kind of catch up with how this works, I'll go about 10 minutes, just kind of give you my takeaways from the game, grab my quick break, come back, and then it's all you. Your questions, your comments, so please drop them in if you're watching live. If you're watching or listening on demand on YouTube or podcast, thank you so much for that. YouTube, please smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you're notified when we post a new video or go live so you can join us live on the episode. And of course, podcast, please subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Okay, so LSU beat Xavier 18-4. I think notably, before we get to the offense, let's start with pitching. LSU gave the ball to William Schmidt in the ball game to start. I was curious if they would go Schmidt or Ware. Remember, Ware struggled his last time out in a start. Schmidt, the last time we saw him, was pitching in Frisco, closing out the game in Frisco on Saturday against Nebraska. So they needed to get him back out there. They started Schmidt, and Jay Johnson said before the game, if you were listening on the LSU Sports Radio Network in his pregame interview, Schmidt was going 1 inning, max 2, depending on how efficient he was in the first. Well, he needed just 14 pitches to get through the first. He allowed 1 hit. He struck out a guy, a very clean inning for William Schmidt, and then he turned the ball over to Jaden Newt, who went 2 innings. The first inning for Newt, he wobbled a bit. He walked a couple guys, but struck out the side. So it's one of those things that you're seeing with a lot of these young guys. The stuff is so good that they're going to overwhelm hitters, but the command sometimes has been a problem. In the 4th inning, Connor Ware went out there, and this is a concern now because this is back-to-back outings for Connor Ware where flatly he hasn't been good. He only managed 2/3 of an inning. He struck out 2, but he walked a guy, allowed 3 hits. He threw a wild pitch and allowed 2 runs. Couldn't get through the inning. And that's concerning because Ware is a guy that, I know we've talked about him here, was their best pitcher in the fall and in pre-conference. And there was a very strong feeling like if anybody in the rotation showed any weaknesses, Ware was the next guy up. It very much feels like here on the precipice of SEC play that now is William Schmidt, that if any of the guys in the weekend rotation at some point struggle, find that they can't get SEC hitters out consistently, Schmidt's probably the next guy with that opportunity. Now, I think your weekend rotation is pretty good so far. And while Anthony Ianson was the guy against Nebraska who struggled early, allowing the 5 runs, but was awesome, allowed 2 runs in the first on this past week, then ended up striking out 15, was awesome. Shores is the guy who maybe has been effective but not efficient his past couple outings, and maybe that would be one to watch as you get into SEC play. We'll talk plenty about Missouri as we go through the week. But what you need to know about Missouri, they're the worst team in the SEC. This is an objective truth. This isn't my subjective opinion. They have the worst record, and they're just not very good. They can't pitch it a lick, but Missouri can hit the ball. And if they're going to beat you, they're going to outslug you. And so that's one of the things where you give them free passes and you give them base runners, and then they, a couple of walks and a blast, and all of a sudden you could find yourself in trouble. That's something to be concerned about over the weekend. But again, we'll get there. So where back-to-back shaky outings. Jay Johnson went to Maverick Rizzi, and Rizzi did walk a guy, but it was nice to see him be mostly clean. That was one over the minimum. Jacob Myers pitched the sixth, and he is a real-life Nuke LaLoosh. Myers is the transfer from Santa Monica, went to Nichols, and is now at LSU. And he is a guy who, it's one of those things where watching Myers isn't enough. Looking at the box score isn't enough. You have to see it. And so if you just look at the box score and you see through an inning, he struck out the side, walked a couple, you go, okay. And he needed 25 pitches. But there's a big difference when you're walking guys and there's borderline pitches. The first batter of the inning, Myers gets up 0-2. And then he's not even close with the next three pitches. The third ball goes to the backstop. It's and he comes back and gets a strikeout. But it's if you're a golfer, if you've ever taken a golf lesson, and you may not be, but this will make sense when I explain it. If you're ever doing putting drills, the golf coach, they'll line up 5, 7, 10 balls, okay? And they want you to aim for the same target. And the goal is that the ball, even if it doesn't go in the cup, the ball is around the same spot. What you don't want is one that goes 3 feet, and one that goes 7 feet, and one that goes off the green, and one that goes in the cup, because it's showing its inconsistency in your stroke. What you want is to be able to look at, and even if you made 2 or 3, but they're all clustered in one spot. Similar here. And if you were looking at a dot map of where Jacob Myers' pitches went, it's boom, low and away, 97 dot explodes out of the hands, no shot, swing and a miss. And then one up and in that goes to the backstop. It's just, you're not really sure where it's going right now. If he ever learns to command his stuff, he's a big leaguer. The arm talent is undeniable. The command is kind of the issues right now. But did strike out the side. Myers did in the sixth. Casey Evans pitched the seventh. He allowed the first two guys on, gave up a couple of hits, which was uncharacteristic. Walked a guy, but again, struck out the side. Casey Evans needed 21 pitches. Casey Evans is going to be fine. I'm not worried about that. He's got a large enough sample size to know this was an outlier. So that's the pitching. The offense is the easy thing to talk about. Everybody hit. Literally, the only LSU hitters, they batted around in the first. Curiel led off, and he was the final out of the inning when he got a double and was trying to stretch it to a triple and got thrown out at third. The only LSU hitter in the first that didn't reach base was Luis Hernandez, and then he got on base in the second inning. So the entire starting 9 was on base in the first inning. Curiel led off with a base hit, followed by a Jared Jones absolute demolition of a baseball to left center over the Tony Sashery sign. And then Daniel Dickinson hit a line drive missile home run right after that. You blink and you're upset. You're up 3-0. Tigers would put up 7 in the first. They put up a 3 spot in the second, 7 more in the third. I could run through the play-by-play of how it happened, but you can look at the box score and understand how this went. It was a day where, Josh Pearson got 2 hits, batting from the left side, dead pull. Xavier was shifted, and twice he got base hits in the right field, beating the shift between the first baseman and the second baseman who was playing in shallow right. That's how hard he was hitting the baseball where they weren't. It was just one of those days where it was your day. I mentioned Jared Jones, who hit the homer. His second hit was a missile into center field. The second at-bat, and he got base hits in his first 3. The second at-bat, he hits a pop-up, like a major league fly ball into shallow right. The second baseman should have faded back and made that catch. abandoned it. The right fielder couldn't run fast enough to get it and the ball falls. I mean, it was just one of those things. It was an amazing day for LSU. Curiel was 3 for 3. Jones was 3 for 4. He did have a strikeout, oddly. Dickinson was 1 for 2 with the homer. Josh Pearson, I mentioned the 2 base hits, the right side beating the shift both times. It was just a really impressive day. Jake Brown, same thing, just hit the ball hard. He was 3 for 3 in the game before being lifted for Dalton Beck, who pinch hit and then went to right field. So it was just a really impressive day for LSU as a whole. So you go into conference play with a feel good where basically everybody got to play. You win 18-4. Everybody that played really had success. And now you go into conference play against the worst team in the SEC with a great opportunity to build yourself a little bit of a cushion as you push off from the dock here in conference play. So LSU beats Xavier 18-4. The one other thing, if I was going to give you one other takeaway, and sometimes, I say winning masks deficiencies. Well, sometimes when you win 18-4 and you focus so much on offense, you lose sight of some defensive moments. And we don't talk enough about this, but Stephen Milam is awesome at shortstop. He made a couple of brilliant plays, one ranging to his left, getting the ball, throwing against his body, a dart. I mean, just perfect. For all the questions we had about Milam moving from second base to shortstop, he has answered those emphatically. He is fantastic at shortstop. Defensively, he's going to be amazing. The other thing, Tanner Reeves hit a grand slam in this ball game, which highlighted the 7-run third inning. And Reeves now has started 4 consecutive games at third base, taking over for Michael Braswell. Braswell, unfortunately, we know Braswell. Reeves did commit the only error of the game for LSU. Braswell, we know, is amazing defensively. Offensively, it just hasn't happened, but this is baseball. Braswell got an AB late. I'm trying to see, forgive me that some of this runs together a little bit, but Braswell got an AB. I'm trying to see when it was. I believe it was in the 4th. Braswell hit a ball about 400 feet to dead center where he just crushed a baseball, and it died in deep left center. I mean, beautiful swing, crushed the ball. The center fielder made a great play getting there and ran it down. Now, it was a sac fly, so the RBI scored, but sometimes when it's not going your way, things like that happen. And that's just it for Michael Braswell right now. Kid at 310. I shouldn't call him a kid. The guy at 310 last year in SEC games. He was LSU's leading hitter in SEC play a year ago. Like, I know Michael Braswell can hit in SEC play. He showed it. He hit 380 in the postseason last year, the SEC tournament and the regional up in Chapel Hill. Like, I know Michael Braswell can hit the baseball. But he's sharing time right now with Tanner Reeves and is probably pressing a little, and he's having bad baseball luck. But mark my words, there's going to be a time in this season when Michael Braswell has big moments for this baseball team. He's too good. We've seen it before. And maybe it's Tanner Reeves. If his glove continues to falter, then that's going to be the open door for Braswell to get in there and play third. So just file that away. Reeves is swinging a hot bat right now, and they're both, I think, very good players, very capable. But Braswell's not having a lot of baseball fortune right now. So something we'll see if that changes as the Tigers head into conference play this weekend with Missouri coming in. Okay, I'm going to shut up. Quick break. When we come back, it's all you. Drop your questions and comments. It's Locked on LSU, your team every day. The Armada Team of the Week is brought to you by our friends at Nissan and the all-new 2025 Nissan Armada. Each week, our Locked on college basketball experts are picking one team that stands apart. From top-seeded stars to the unexpected upsets, these guys showcase the strength and sheer power needed to push their team forward. This week's Armada and clear-cut Team of the Week, the Duke Blue Devils. John Shire's team, led by National Player of the Year candidate Cooper Flagg, just ripped through the ACC, going 19-1. Blue Devils were plus 434 in the ACC games, the largest point differential by a power conference team in league play since Kentucky in 1953-54. When it comes to the Nissan Armada, they say, go forth and conquer. And that's exactly what the Duke Blue Devils have done here. It's clear that our team of the week is out here ready to conquer the road ahead with confidence, just like you can in the all-new Nissan Armada or any of Nissan's outstanding vehicles. Take the Nissan Armada, Rogue, or Pathfinder and go find your next big adventure. Shop NissanUSA.com. Today's show is also brought to you by our friends over at Roy. Attention, Locked On LSU fans. You ever wish you could directly support your favorite LSU athletes and be a part of their journey? Well, now you can with Roy, the NIL app that puts fans in control. Before Roy, NIL deals were often handled behind closed doors, and fans like you didn't have a clear way to directly support the players that you love. Now, with Roy, you can make a real impact and feel closer to the athletes representing LSU. With Roy, you get to choose the player you want to support. You can decide how much you want to contribute, and you get exclusive content straight from the athletes that you back. And the best part, if your player transfers, you get your money back. So it's a risk-free way to show your support and make your voice heard. Support your favorite players directly. Help shape the future of LSU sports. Download the Roy app now from the App Store and start backing LSU athletes the way they deserve, with transparency, trust, and real impact. This is the future of college sports. Join it now by downloading Roy and supporting your favorite players. Okay, let's get to you. LSU beat Xavier 18-4. We'll run through here with your questions, comments from the game, so please fire away. We appreciate you for being with us live. If you are watching live, please smash that like button on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you're notified when we go live or post a video. Again, we appreciate our friends listening and watching on demand so much. Same goes. If you're on podcasts, subscribe on your favorite podcast app. If you're on YouTube, smash a like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, leave your comments. We appreciate you. Hey, Monty, seemed like once the boys got a big, they started to check out mentally late in the game. Something else, Monty, is there were just mass substitutions. Sometimes it's hard to have continuity. There was a freshman pitcher from Xavier who struck out 5 consecutive hitters. 5 of the last 6 outs of the game for LSU were strikeouts from a freshman from Xavier. And sometimes that happens. Like if I were actually, forgive me, I'm going to try to see if I could find this real quickly. With all the substitutions, the box score looks a little crazy. Actually, you know what? I'm not even going to try. There's about, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 20. There were 20 LSU position players that had an at-bat in this ballgame. 20. So I'm not even going to try to figure out where it was. So, well, you know what I can do? Hang on. I know what I can do. I'll go to the 6th inning. So here you go. In the bottom of the 6th, Fry struck out, Paul struck out, Braswell walked, then Larson grounded out. Then in the 5th, he struck out the side. It was Aaron Beatty, John Pearson, and Costello. So point is, Aaron Beatty, John Pearson, Costello, Fry, McPaul, are the ones that struck out. Fry has kind of been a contributor for you. The rest that struck out are guys that were getting spot at bats. So not super worried about it. Hey, Thomas, thanks so much for being there. Offense looked good. Defense got a bit shady. I don't know if the defense was shady. I thought the defense played really well today in this ball game. Error by Tanner Reeves at third, but Milam was great at short. You've had issues behind the plate all season. In the 7th inning, Priester let a ball go off his glove that went to the backstop, allowed the runners to advance to second and third, and ultimately a run came home. 2 runs came home actually on Case and Evans when he allowed that the 2 RBI base hit. Both runs probably would have scored either way, but catcher defensively continues to be your biggest issue. Hey, John, I think Reeves has shown enough with the bat. He'll be your starting third base in SEC play. Hey, John, I'll tell you this, man. He started the last 4 games. It's pretty clear Jay Johnson's showing you. You know what you have in Braswell. And I think Braswell is a better defensive third baseman. Reeves, so you can say Reeves has shown you enough with the bat. But again, Braswell hit 310 in SEC play last year. He hit 387 in postseason last year. Like, I know Braswell can do it. Just because he started slowly, everybody goes through slumps. If you wanted to bench Reeves, put Braswell in there, I had no doubt over a 56-game sample, he's going to build that batting average and hit over 300. That's Braswell is a 300 hitter. So, but I do agree with you. Jay's showing you he started now Reeves the last 4 games, and I think Reeves is going to start this weekend against Missouri. Michael, bunch of young guys gave up some runs, got a little more experience under the belt. Myers could be the next Skeens if he finds command. Good win. Thanks for the post-game recaps. You got it. I'll tell you this, though, Michael. Please don't mention the name Skeens. You're not going to see another Skeens. You can see a talented guy. You're not going to see another Paul Skeens. I mean, Paul Skeens broke Ben McDonald's strikeout record, which stood for 35 years. And Ben McDonald was the most freak arm talent we've ever seen, who was the number one pick in the draft. So please, I think we all collectively have got to recognize, like, you're never going to see another Paul Skeens. So stop saying who's the next Paul Skeens. It took you 35 years between Ben McDonald and Paul Skeens. You saw great pitchers. We saw great pitchers. I mean, first-round talents like Aaron Nola and Kevin Gausman and Kurt Ainsworth. I mean, you saw great arm talents. Paul Skeens is just different. So please don't think you're ever going to see another Paul Skeens. I appreciate the fact that we all got to see Paul Skeens throw in an LSU uniform for 1 year and won a national championship. It was awesome. We're probably not going to see another one. Jacob, what's your thoughts on the bullpen heading into the SEC play? I am totally fine with it, Jacob, and here's why. And I think this is probably, and I get that question a lot because fans are nervous about the bullpen because you saw Myers today being consistent. You know, we've seen guys like Cooper Williams struggle with command. Jaden Newt struck out the side in the second inning, but also walked a couple of guys. The point is, when you get into leverage spots, you are going to, Jay Johnson and Nate Yeske are going to shrink the rotation. This past weekend was a great illustration. You made it through your first two games with four pitchers. 2 on Friday, 2 on Saturday. Like, that's what you're going to see. If LSU goes out on Friday and puts up 15 runs against Missouri, they're going to run a lot of these guys, whoever. Just, you're up 10, down 10 guys. But if LSU is leading 2-1 and Cade Anderson gives you 7, Case and Evans is getting the ball to get you your final 6 outs, period. Like, that's how it's going to go. If on Saturday, Anthony Einson gives you 6, it's a close ball game, they're going to give the ball to Zach Cowan, and they're going to try to get home with Zach Cowan. Like, that's just what it's going to be. You're not going to see this revolving door of Newt and Rizzi and Grant Fontenot and Cooper Williams and all the guys Jay's trying to get work. Those, I've said this now for 2 weeks. Those are the guys that are having issues. But it's why you take the first month of the season to go what you think you know from fall ball and preseason, and then you put guys out there in real game situations and see who delivers. And then based on that, you pare it down into roles for the start of conference play, which is where you are now. And then that'll continue to evolve. But I think the bullpen's fine. Because I know right now, I feel great about Anderson, Ianson, Shores, Benj, Cowan, Schmidt, Evans. That's 7 right there I feel really good about. I would have thrown Connor Ware, but his last 2 outings have been really shaky. And then whenever you get Gavin Guidry back healthy from the back injury, that's 9. I can get through a weekend with those 9 guys and win and put myself in a position to win every weekend. I'm not saying you're going to win every weekend, but those 9, plenty enough to get me through a weekend. And then you're going to have your up 10, down 10 guys. You're going to be in blowouts. It's going to happen. There's going to be Sundays in the SEC when someone else is out of pitch and you score 20 runs on them and you're going to play whoever you want. But there's plenty enough arms who have been more than competent up until this point to get you through a weekend. Hey, Brant, great momentum heading to SEC play. Were there some familiar names that pitched a little erratic the last few innings? The only one I would tell you that was a little shaky was Evans, because he's your closer right now. Like, he is your biggest leverage spot guy in the bullpen, and he allowed the first 2 guys on and allowed 2 runs in the 7th, but gets a little different when you're pitching with a 16-run lead. Jacob, what's going on? Good evening. Let's see. I'd like to see how they fare against versus my 2025 my team. I don't know what that is. Travis, evening, Matt. So excited to see Schmidt continue to pitch. Dude's elite. It's pretty special to watch. And it's rare that you see a true 12-6 curveball. You see a lot of guys now that dot 95, 96, a lot of guys with sliders and changeups. It's rare that you see a true 12-6. And the fact that he throws one with a big league spin rate makes him a little bit of an outlier. And he's going to be tough to handle if he can command it. Hope LSU can start 3-0 starting SEC play. Hope Florida humbles Tennessee this weekend. Yeah, Brant, I'm not so sure that I have a great feeling about Florida humbling Tennessee this weekend. I think Tennessee's got a pretty special team. I do agree with you on LSU starting 3-0 in SEC play. Again, I'm not predicting that. It's really hard to predict a sweep. I'll remind you, LSU didn't sweep Omaha at the box, but LSU's capable, and there's quite literally no more favorable matchup you could start conference play with than literally the worst team in the conference coming to your place. So a year ago, LSU had a really brutal first half of SEC play. It lightened up in the second half, and they were able to make up enough ground to earn a regional berth. This is one where you could give yourself a little bit of a leg up in the pole position if you go have a good weekend against Missouri. Garrett, didn't Schmidt throw game 2 against NDSU? Might have, forgive me, I might have forgotten one. I think I said the last time he pitched was against, to close out Nebraska. He might have pitched that game against NDSU. My apologies. Hey, Abner, thanks so much. Thanks for giving yourself to add this to your day's work. Abner, I appreciate you, and I say it all the time. If y'all weren't here, look, it's a Tuesday night, a few minutes before 10 p.m. Central. There's 153 people watching live. God bless you. If you're here, I'm going to be here. So thank y'all for being here. Seriously. Otherwise, I'm a dude talking to myself in a room. So 159 now. Thank y'all for being here. Hey, Zach Lee, concerned all the Evans struggled some tonight? No. Listen, man. Greg Maddox had bad outings. Randy Johnson had bad outings. I'm not saying he's them. I'm just saying the best ever have rough outings. A freshman in college is going to go into the game sometimes up 16 and maybe not have his best. That's okay. Hey, Rick, what a great way to essentially end preseason. Bring on Mizzou. Let's go. Tigers use 17 pitchers. I love this staff. They're going to have to pare it down, though, Rick. I'll tell you that much. Like, you're not going to get, like, you will not get into postseason play or SEC weekends using 17 guys. This past weekend, by the way, they really tried to mirror an SEC weekend. They used 9. The 3 weeks ago now against Omaha, they used 13 pitchers. In Frisco, they used 15 last weekend at the box. Against North Alabama, they used 9. I think that's what you're going to see. If your starters can extend, you're going to shrink the game, and you're going to lean on the guys out of the bullpen that you know can go. A bleeping hammer. Looking way ahead. Love Aaron Beatty, but if catcher just doesn't work out, is he a guy that can play some first base once Jones is gone? That's a really good question. I don't have the answer to that. What I do know is talking to scouts when Aaron Beatty was a high schooler, they loved him. They thought he was a surefire, high school to the pros guy. Struggled with the bat a little bit his senior year, and so he didn't get the number he had, so he showed up on campus. He's got a huge ceiling. I just think it's one of those things where it's going to take time. Myers, wow, he got a little Rick Vaughn in him. I said at the beginning, he's a real-life Nuke LaLoosh. If he ever harnesses the talent, he's a big leaguer. Hey, Thomas, first 2 pitchers for Xavier through BP. That's true. Milam and Pearson are both really hot right now. It really was crazy. It felt like BP. And it's not that those pitchers were necessarily terrible. It was like Josh Pearson had 2 base hits to the right side against the shift. Jake Brown blistered a couple of balls to the right side. Bear Jones hit a major league pop fly into shallow right that nobody caught. It was one of those days where Xavier was just bad. They're just bad. And LSU, everything LSU hit found grass. Good day. Hey, Sean, great preseason. Let's sweep Mizzou this weekend. Going to need all the wins you can get in the SEC this year. Yep. So in my preseason prediction, I picked LSU at 18-12. A sweep at home against Mizzou would go a long way to getting you there. 18-12, you're hosting, put you in the conversation for a national seat, to be able to have a super regional go through the box. Boy, that'd be a lot of fun. Only thing Myers is missing is the thick rim glasses. Let's see. Hey, John, beating inferior competition, setting up for disappointment. Elite pitching in the SEC won't be giving up the plate. So, John, I don't disagree with you, but the thing I'd say to the flip side is every team in the league in the pre-conference plays a schedule like this. You play directional schools and you iron out the kinks, and then you have some situations where you go play a feature tournament like LSU did when they went to Frisco, and you got to play Kansas State and Nebraska and Sam Houston, who are all going to be regional teams. And you won those 3 games in very different ways. So while I agree with you, I'm not sitting here telling you should be doing backflips over beating Xavier 18-4, because I don't think Xavier is a very good team. Now, they've also got the number 2 RPI in college baseball, because they've played an incredibly difficult schedule. And I don't know if you're watching the game, they put a graphic on the screen. They're picked second in their league this year. And they may end up being a good team in that league. They're a little outclassed, and they've been on the road for a month playing a whole bunch of SEC teams. It's not a good way to start, but their RPI is going to be through the roof. So I'm not saying, John, one of the things I would tell you is I often say in every sport, winning masks deficiencies, losing magnifies them. Which is why when we went through this ball game, I said it's easy when it's 18-4 for you to just praise the offense and gush over the grand slam that Tanner Reeves hit, or the back-to-back homers from Bear Jones and Daniel Dickinson, and all that's great. But it's also worth noting, like, Reeves committed an error at third, and Kaysen Evans did struggle in the seventh inning. And Connor Ware had back-to-back really tough outings. So you're learning some of those things through these games as well. Rick said Braswell's a clutch hitter. You're right. He's pressing. I do believe there is some of that. But I'll tell you that he walked in this ball game, and he absolutely hit a missile to left center. That he didn't miss that baseball. It just, there was a guy there that caught it. I mean, he had 400 feet, and he hit the mess out of it. He didn't miss it. So he had a couple of good at bats in this ball game. Here you go. Wish Braswell would have gotten that homer. It would have done wonders for his confidence at the plate. I'll be curious. I hope we have an opportunity to talk to Braswell here soon, because I don't know that he's lacking confidence. I mean, this is a guy now in his fourth year in the SEC. And when you've gone through that much, like, for example, let me just bear with me 1 second here. I want to look this up. Michael Braswell, in his college career, has, coming into this ballgame, Michael Braswell has 599 career at-bats. So after tonight, he's at 601. He's seen it all. He's seen everything you can see in 600 at-bats in the Southeastern Conference. He's had great moments. He's had terrible moments. He's had slumps and streaks. So I don't think he's lacking confidence. I just think he's having a little bad baseball fortune. Maybe pressing a little bit, but I thought he had two really good at-bats tonight. He drew a full count walk, and I don't think I can use the word I want to use here on Locked On, but he hit the mess out of a ball. Might say he urinated on a ball to center field, but you use the P word if you know what I mean, to center. Seth, lack of lefty relievers are concerned. If Connor Ware struggles, I think there could be some legitimacy to that. Yes. Because Ware's a guy that I thought would have been your first option lefty out of the bullpen his last two outings. He struggled. That is a very good question. Rick asked, Skeens is a once-in-a-lifetime talent, asked about Gavin. I was told Gavin is a back injury. They do expect him back this week. I don't know if there's a scenario that will unfold for him to pitch this weekend, but I was told back injury for Gavin Guidry. Guy Brooks, another great win. Thanks for the recap. You got it. Thanks for being there. Zach, hoping we could see the starters all extend maybe an extra inning. Zach, I don't know that it's necessarily the extra inning. I think it's the pitch count. And all three starters this past weekend all went past 90 pitches. So it's less about I thought I had my notes right here. I think it's, yes, look, you would love for the inning. Ianson got you through 7 because he was more efficient. Anderson got you 6. Shores got you 5. So your starters went 5, 6, and 7. But they were all north of 90 pitches. It's just about your efficiency. So I'm not even looking at get me an extra inning, because they were all. Let me say that another way. It's not about extending another inning. It's about being more economical with your pitches so you can get through another inning. Like, I don't think Jay's going to let these guys go to 110 pitches to get them out there another inning, especially when you have guys like Zach Cowan, Connor Benj, William Schmidt, who are capable of giving you some length out of the bullpen. Okay, a couple more here. Please smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, Facebook, like the page, share the post. David, people concerned about the strikeouts at the end can relax. The umpire's ready to go home. Yeah, and you also had emptied the bench at that point. Hey, Steve, thoughts on the team's ability to score runs playing small ball in SEC play? I think it's fascinating. Look, I mentioned this yesterday on the show, but the next time I have a chance to talk to Jay, I'm going to ask him this question. Because quite honestly, I just didn't see Jay Johnson's teams at San Diego or at Arizona. But in year 4, this is the first time he's been this active on the base paths. suicide squeeze, safety squeeze, straight steals, hit and runs. He's just never done this before. So not during his time at LSU. So I'm curious if this is an outlier with this team or if this is what he's done a lot throughout his career. Great question. Well, I haven't seen Eddie Yaman yet. The only position player we haven't seen, the transfer from Dayton. I don't have that answer, but I will ask that question. It's a good question. Hey, Steve, I just love our team. So many stars. They're deep. David, Jake, Braswell hitting 310 at SEC is so clutch. Anyone that follows baseball knows everyone goes through struggles. It's a long season. It'll be interesting to see what Jay decides to do. Jake, I think they're both. I co-sign completely. I think they're both going to have a role. I think one of the really interesting things Jay Johnson's going to have to decide on this team is, will he continue to try to get all of these guys involved as much as he has, or is he going to pare it down? One of the challenges about going into the portal and getting a lot of guys that have played a lot is you have a very deep roster, but how do they all play? Braswell is a great example, the conversation we're having. Well, you went and got Tanner Reeves. Tanner Reeves is fantastic. Look, Dalton Beck was the best hitter in his conference a year ago. He's barely seen the field. So maybe one of the questions Jay Johnson will have to answer going forward is, do you get this much depth, or do you go all in to get 3 or 4 real impact guys? You know what I mean? Like Liam Doyle at Tennessee, for example, transferred from Ole Miss. He's a lefty who throws 100 and is probably the best pitcher in college baseball right now. Is that more valuable than 5 position players that can all give you something, but they're probably not all going to play, and you have to find a way to keep them all happy? It's an interesting paradigm that Jay's going to have to answer. Hey, Connor, how do you think this team compares to Tennessee talent-wise? Connor, I have a really good buddy who is a longtime scout, and he called me on Sunday and said, forgive me, on Monday night. Called me on Monday night. And he said, well, I was in Knoxville this weekend. It's like, that didn't sound good. He goes, it's just different. I mean, you're talking about a long time, like 30-year big league scout. I think Tennessee's the best team in the country. They're the most talented team in the country. They have 5 guys that throw 100. They're the best team in the country. But Tennessee was the best team in the country in 2022. They were the best college baseball team I've ever seen. They had the best college baseball season any of us have ever seen. And they lost a home super regional to Notre Dame. So, got to get through it. Garrett, a couple more here. Do you think Cowan, Schmidt, or Benj is going to end up playing the stopper first out of the pen? I don't know. It's going to be situational, man. I don't know that it's not Case and Evans, depending on the situation. Like, let's say Friday against Missouri, LSU's up 2-1. Anderson gets you through 7. He goes out there and allows a runner to get on to start the 8th. Case and Evans is coming to the ballgame. It's just situational, I think. Braswell is only good against SEC pitching. That's not a bad thing. What a way to put it, right? This is a great point by Rick. Braswell's ball to deep left center is a home run in Knoxville, in Oxford, in Lexington, in a lot of parks. Yeah. Hey, Catherine, I think you're the best sports analyst I've ever listened to. Yes, it's just LSU you analyze, but we're so lucky to have you. Thanks for your hard work. You're a natural, Catherine. Appreciate that, Catherine. Very kind. Let's talk about the Saints, regrettably. Schmidt would have gone late. No. He shouldn't have gone way longer. The objective was get him on the mound. Because, okay, just really quickly, and I need to wrap this up. The objective was to get him on the mound against live hitting and get him out so he's fresh for the weekend. The objective isn't see how deep William Schmidt can go against Xavier. It was let William Schmidt get out there against live hitting and be fresh enough for this weekend. A lot of times what you'll see in midweek games is these coaches will use midweek games as a bullpen day. So a lot of times guys will have a bullpen day where they get hot and they throw like they're in a game, 12, 15, 20 pitches, whatever it is, and that's their bullpen day. Well, when you in a game like this, LSU used, forgive me, Schmidt, Newt, Ware, Rizzi, Myers, Evans. They used 6 pitchers. None of them went longer than 2 innings. That was Newt that gave you 41 pitches. And I think the reason Jay let him go a second inning is because he walked 2 and really struggled in the first inning, wanted him to go have some success, which is why I went out there in the second inning. So, again, you have to reframe it. It's not about, hey, let him go out there, let Schmidt go out there and throw longer because he can. This was a means to an end. This was get out there and throw against live hitting and get out of there and get ready for the weekend, because the weekend is much bigger than the midweek game, and get other guys the opportunity to get on the mound against live hitting. Yep. Truitt, Monster is my guy. Dickinson's been a huge addition. He's been awesome. Let's see if he can keep this going against SEC pitching. Bayou Bros, Jay's nailing it this year. We have nothing to worry about. Pitching is deep. Bats are waiting to be called upon. Defense is waiting for a ball. I'll tell you this. I do think this is the best defensive outfield. When you go Curiel, Stanfield, Brown, I do think this is the best defensive outfield LSU has had since the outfield where you had Laird, Stevenson, and Fraley. That was right to left. So left to right, Fraley, Stevenson, Laird. That was 3 center fielders that were all elite level defenders. This is similar. When you have Curiel, Stanfield, Brown, any one of those guys could be an elite level center fielder. You have 3 elite center fielders out there in the outfield right now. It's pretty awesome to watch defensively. Hey, Robert, perfect analogy with the gold reference. He's got some good stuff if he ever gets more consistent. The gold reference. Not sure what gold reference I made. My apologies. Couple more. Okay. Tennessee has heart. Battelle is scared of the Tigers. I don't know, man. It's going to be a fun one if they match up in the postseason. All right, let me get out of here. Hey, thanks so much for being there. Please smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you're notified whenever we post a new video. If you're watching on demand, thank you so much. If you're listening on YouTube, if you're listening on podcast, please subscribe on your favorite podcast app. I'll get it. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you're notified whenever we post a new video or go live. Remember, for every LSU game, or as many of them as I can do, we'll be here live on the Locked On LSU YouTube channel as soon as the game goes final. So make sure you're here and tell a friend that if they love the Tigers, we got you every single day for Locked On LSU, your team every day.